The train rattled northward through the frozen Soviet landscape, its windows fogged with condensation. Inside, the compartment was alive with chatter, boots clattering against the floor, the smell of wool and coal smoke mingling in the air. 10 young hikers, bundled in heavy coats, leaned close together, their laughter rising above the clatter of wheels. Igor Dyatlov sat by the window, his notebook balanced on his knees. He was 23, with sharp eyes and a calm, deliberate manner. He wrote quickly, his pencil scratching across the page, recording details of the journey. Around him, his companions teased, sang, and argued over rations. "Rustic, you've packed bricks," Zina Kolmogorova teased, tugging at Rustam Slobodin's overloaded pack. Rustam grinned. "Bricks will keep me warm when you're all freezing." The others laughed. Even Semyon Zolotaryov, the oldest of the group at 38, allowed himself a smile. He had joined at the last minute, a war veteran among students, his presence both reassuring and strange. He smoked quietly, watching the younger ones with a mixture of amusement and paternal concern. They were 10 when they left Sverdlovsk. By the time they reached the last settlement, Ivdol, one would turn back. Yuri Yudin, plagued by rheumatism and stomach pain, could not continue. He shook Igor's hand, his eyes clouded with regret. "Next time," Yuri said. Igor nodded. Next time. It was a farewell that would haunt Yuri for the rest of his life. The 9 pressed on. Their diaries brimmed with humor. They wrote a mock newspaper, the Evening Otorten, filled with satirical articles about their journey. Their photographs showed smiling faces, skis cutting through snow, the vast wilderness stretching around them. The days were long, the nights bitter. They sang songs to keep warm, argued over the best way to pitch the tent, and shared jokes about the cold. Zina scribbled in her diary, "The weather is bad, but our spirits are high. We laugh at the storm." On January 31st, they reached a valley near the base of Kolitsyakal, the mountain of the dead. The name lingered in their minds, though none spoke of it aloud. The next day, they began their ascent toward the pass. The weather turned. Winds howled, snow blinded their path. Instead of descending into the forest for shelter, Igor chose to pitch their tent on an exposed slope. Some say it was a training exercise, a way to prove their skill. Others believe they miscalculated. That night, they cooked a simple meal, their stove hissing softly in the cramped tent. The canvas walls shook with the force of the wind, but inside there was warmth, companionship, and the faint smell of buckwheat porridge. Igor closed his notebook and looked around. "Tomorrow we'll reach the pass. From there, Otorten is only a few days away." "Otorten," Zina repeated, rolling the word on her tongue. "In Monsey it means don't go there, doesn't it?" Rustam laughed. "Then we'll go anyway. That's what makes it worth it." The tent filled with chuckles. Outside, the storm howled louder, as if the mountain itself had heard. One by one, they drifted into uneasy sleep, unaware that this would be their last night together. The storm had not relented. Snow hissed against the canvas. The wind shrieked like a living thing. Inside the tent, the hikers lay in restless sleep, their bodies pressed close for warmth. The stove had gone out hours ago, leaving only the heat of their breath and the thin barrier of fabric between them and the mountain's fury. Then something, a sound perhaps, a vibration, a pressure in the air that made the canvas tremble and their hearts pound. Zina sat up first, her hair damp with condensation, her eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Igor stirred, rubbing his eyes. "It's just the wind." But the others were awake now, too. Rustam's face was pale, his breath quick. Doroshenko muttered, "No, it was different." Like the ground moved. The tent seemed to press in on them. The roar of the storm suddenly unbearable. Panic spread like fire. Someone shouted. No one would remember what. Knives flashed, canvas tore. They spilled out into the night, barefoot, half-dressed, snow biting at their skin like fire. The slope stretched before them, a white void under a black sky. They moved together at first, their footprints later showing a strange calm, as if they had chosen to walk rather than run. But the cold was merciless. Within minutes, their fingers were numb, their breath ragged. "Forest," Igor said, pointing to the dark line of trees below. "We'll make a fire there." The forest loomed like a wall of black against the white storm. Beneath a towering cedar, Doroshenko and Krivonischenko clawed at branches, their hands raw and bleeding. They managed to spark a fire, flames licking weakly at the frozen air. The others huddled close, but the heat was pitiful against the storm. Rustam tried to climb the tree, snapping branches high above, perhaps to gather wood, perhaps to see the tent again. His body would later be found with bark embedded under his nails. Zina pressed close to Igor, her lips blue. "We have to go back," she whispered. He nodded. "We'll try." The fire sputtered, smoke stinging their eyes. Doroshenko coughed, his chest heaving. Krivonischenko's teeth chattered so violently he could not speak. Their bodies shook with the effort of clinging to life. "Stay here," Igor said. "Keep the fire alive. We'll bring help." But there was no help to bring. 3 of them, Igor, Zina, and Rustam, set out toward the slope. The snow swallowed their legs, the wind pushed them back. They leaned into the storm, their faces raw with frost. Almost there, Igor gasped, though the tent was still far above. Zina stumbled, fell to her knees. Igor pulled her up, his hands trembling. Rustam pressed on ahead, his body bent against the gale. One by one, they fell. Igor collapsed face first, his arms outstretched toward the tent he would never reach. Zina curled into herself, as if trying to sleep. Rustam staggered, fell, rose again, then finally lay still. Behind them, the fire under the cedar dwindled to embers. The forest grew darker as the last 4 hikers pressed deeper into the trees. The wind was muffled here, but the cold was no less cruel. Their breath came in ragged bursts, their limbs stiffening with each step. Semyon Zolotaryov led the way, his military instincts kicking in. He scanned the terrain, looking for shelter. Behind him, Ludmila Dubinina stumbled, clutching her side. Her face was pale, her lips cracked. "I can't feel my feet," she whispered. Yuri Kolevatov turned to her, his voice low. "We'll find cover. Just a little farther." They reached a ravine, its walls steep and snow-packed. It offered some protection from the wind. They began to dig, clawing at the snow with bare hands, trying to hollow out a space. Then the snow betrayed them. A sudden collapse buried them under meters of white. The weight crushed ribs, fractured skulls. There was no time to scream, no time to escape. When spring came, rescuers would dig them out. Their injuries defied explanation. Ludmila was missing her tongue and eyes. Semyon's chest was shattered, yet there were no signs of struggle. No blood, no footprints but their own. Only silence. Weeks passed. The hikers did not return. Families grew anxious. The Institute sent volunteers. The military joined in. On February 26th, searchers found the tent. It was half buried in snow, tilted at an odd angle. The canvas had been slashed from the inside. Inside lay boots, coats, food, and journals. Everything a group would need to survive. But the hikers were gone. Footprints led down the slope, spaced evenly, as if they had walked calmly into the storm. Then the bodies began to appear. 2 under the cedar, barefoot, burned from the fire. 3 more between the tree and the tent, frozen mid-crawl. The last 4 would not be found until May. The searchers wept. Hardened men, used to the brutality of the taiga, could not understand what they saw. One whispered they were trying to come back. Another said something made them run. But what? Back in Sverdlovsk, the news spread slowly. Mothers clutched photographs. Fathers demanded answers. Ludmila's mother wrote to the authorities, "My daughter was strong. She would not have panicked. What happened to her?" The Soviet response was brief. They died due to a compelling natural force. Files were sealed. The case was closed. But rumors spread. Some spoke of glowing orbs in the sky that night. Others whispered of secret weapons tests. The Monsey people told of spirits and curses. Yuri Yudin, the lone survivor, visited the graves. He stood in silence, his hands trembling. "I should have been with them," he said. "Maybe I could have helped. Maybe I would have died too." The pass where they died is now called Dyatlov Pass, in honor of their leader. Each year, hikers retrace their route. Writers, filmmakers, and researchers return to the mystery, trying to piece together the final hours of those 9 young lives. Theories multiplied. Avalanche, katabatic winds, infrasound, military testing that UFOs, Yetis. None fully explained the calm footprints, the bizarre injuries, the missing body parts. The mystery endured. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved. The storm that night erased the truth, leaving only fragments, a torn tent, footprints in the snow, broken bodies in the ravine. What drove them from their shelter? What force crushed their bones? Why did they die scattered across the mountain, their voices silenced forever? The mountain does not answer. It keeps its secret beneath the snow. Subscribe for more videos.